Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop on our 600th episode. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh. I just want to say, I posted this today because someone wrote this, and I have gotten I'm thankful, not only that it's my 600th episode, but I'm thankful for all of you who have listened to the show, told your friends about it, come to a live show, written a review on iTunes. If you haven't, please do, because some people don't love me as much as you do, and I'd like to balance it out and get back to a higher average. Lastly, of course, the Patreon people that consistently support me and listen to the extra content, and I love you all. But this was written by Pop Apologists, and she put it on her stories, and I shared it. And she basically, it's just a big, long compliment to myself. She wrote, I'm a huge Juicy Scooper and have been since 2016. Heather's absolutely hilarious and really unlocked something powerful for me. When I first started listening, I took myself super seriously, and it was really formative and honestly a big relief to hear a woman who approached life with such lightheartedness and humor. Whenever I get afraid of bad things happening in the future, I swear I have Heather McDonald alter ego in my brain now, and I just laugh it off and I don't give a shit. Learning to not take life or yourself too seriously is a huge relief, and I truly believe I have Heather to thank for letting go of a lot of intensity and anxiety I felt plagued in my early 20s. Well, I love that. I always say what I love hearing most, and I heard from so many people during this past fall tour that I got them through COVID, or I got them through postpartum, or a horrible job, or a mean boss, or a bad relationship, or a death of a loved one. Or cancer, because this show is fun and it's a distraction. But what I also really like to hear is that in some ways I'm inspiring and I keep you going with a positive attitude, and I keep you, not taking things too seriously, knowing that the future is better. I love that people say that they secreted things and manifested it. And I talk a lot about that and in reaching for what you really want and envisioning it and all of that. I love hearing your stories. I love hearing about the babies that you got pregnant with doing my method, which is you wait for your period to end and you bone every other day for 10 to 14 days. Okay. The amount of babies that have been born via my Heather McDonald boning method. So I love it all. Thank you. Speaking of boning, I just want to talk about the Bachelor news. First of all, I'm going to get to Hannah, but Tayshia and her fiance, Zach, they broke up. Tayshia and Caitlin Bristow took over Chris Harrison's spot as being co-host for the last two seasons of The Bachelor. The current one with Michelle is on. And I got to hang out with Tayshia and Caitlin on the previous season with Katie when I did my episode of it. And I just want to say, I asked her how her relationship was going, and she was like, and I'm like, this is not going to work out. So I'm not at all surprised. Basically, the article of Page 6 said from their source that, they tried to make it work, but her limelight was really growing, and he had difficulty with that. I also think they were long distance. At least I know she had to be, quarantined and all this stuff when we were doing the show in New Mexico. He was in New York. I personally, watching the show, didn't feel them to be a really perfect, long-lasting match, but wishing them both the best. Now, Hannah Brown has a new book coming out, and I read this article on Page 6 that I must have read the book and reviewed it. So she, if you remember, it was kind of juicy. She went on the fantasy suites, and I always talk about how, you're boning in most cases, boning three different guys, sometimes back to back. I heard they give you a day to like douche or just like relax. But I mean, you got to get your game on. Like, you cannot be, if you're the girl, you can't be a pillow princess. You can't be a lazy lay. You got to bring out all the stops, all the tricks. So she said she went with Peter Weber, the pilot, with like the very kind of annoying mom. No offense. I'll probably run into her in Westlake Village, but that she boned him 4 times in the windmill. And she was not afraid to tell the super Christian that, because the super Christian was like, I can't marry you. And anyway, whatever happened to that super Christian, he went away. Came down to Peter Weber, I think, the pilot that she boned 4 times in one night in the windmill, and this country singer named Jake. Jake, they get engaged. She says in the book, what's his name? Jed. Sorry, Jed. Jed and she get engaged. She says in this book now that the boning of Jed in the fantasy suite did not compare to the 4 times in the windmill. It felt like a date night, and she went in the same expectations with Peter Weber, the pilot, but he blew her away with the boning in the windmill. But Jed and her had a real emotional connection. So she chooses Jed. Jed asks her to marry him. They get married. They get engaged. Then she found out that he kind of had like a girlfriend back home when he started the show. So that was a part of contention. But he also, she writes in the book, that he would constantly ask her about that night in the windmill. And that he would ask, is my dick as big as Peter Weber, the pilot's? And she's like, I don't know why guys always ask that, but I'm not going to answer it. Yet you're saying in the book that the boning was better with Peter the pilot than Jed the country singer. Okay? Later on in the book, she says they break up. She goes to some other couple's engagement party or wedding or something from Bachelor in Paradise. She and Peter hook up again. And then she says the sex wasn't good that night. He really wasn't that great that night. But now I'm dating this model named Adam. To Adam and the mother of Adam, get the fuck out. What is this? What if guys were writing about the circumference of Hannah's vagina? What if they were like, you know what? I've been in tighter. I have been in tighter. And then I saw her again 6 months later and we hooked up and I was like, wow, pretty disappointing in the sack. I thought you were going to do better, giving me a BJ. And I feel like you got a little lazy towards the end. What? I'm just pointing it out because I feel like as feminists and everything, we have gotten away with this horrible behavior. And maybe it's because I'm a boy mom that I don't like it. Okay. I don't like it. I don't want my sons to be bachelors anymore. At one time I thought it would be fun because it would give me an opportunity to be on TV again when they come to visit me at the hometowns. I'm going to give up that opportunity to be on TV to protect my sons, their penis size, and how good or bad they are in the sack. With that, I hope you stuff your turkey and have a wonderful day. Listen to my Patreon. You could read her book or not, but I don't agree with it. Hannah Brown, bless this mess and my vagina. I don't know. And have some fun today. And, of course, Patreon on Friday. And now for my new best friend, Cindy Eckert. Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I've got a really juicy interview. We're going to find all about how to be a gorgeous billionaire with a hot fiance. If she can do it, you can too. Welcome, Cindy Eckert.
Oh my God, Heather, I'm so happy to be here. What kind of intro is that?
I just always think when someone's just like, if I can do it, you can do it. And you're like, maybe really? Not. But you do have a very interesting life. I've been following you for a while, and we've been trying to do this interview for a while.
I know, finally.
So, in a nutshell, just tell the Juicy Scoopers who you are, and then we're going to get into bigger detail about your life story.
Well, look, here's what I'm best known as.
Okay.
If I walk into the room, I'm known as female Viagra.
Okay.
So I'm known as that because not just my hot fiance, but I actually got the first ever product across the finish line for women's libido. So there are 26 products for men. I'd run one of those companies and nothing for women. I ran one called Slate at the time.
Okay.
It had a long-acting testosterone for men.
So that's like a Viagra.
It's testosterone, different.
Oh, okay.
So not ED, but sex drive,
Got
often
it.
for guys. And
Not
there are
erectile
tons of different.
dysfunction, but
Exactly.
sex drive. Okay.
So, serial entrepreneur, built these businesses from scratch, built a company with a male sexual health drug, of course, right? And look around and say, wait a minute, there are 26 for men and not a single one for women, and sold off that business and took this on. And it's been crazy. Maybe it was destined to be crazy to bring the first ever product for women's pleasure to market. But
so now, what is the deal? Because where is this product?
I have it. You can get it.
What's it called?
Addy, ADDYI. Addy.com.
And how do you take
prescription.
it? So it's a pill, or what is it?
It's a pill. Yeah, once daily pill, known as the little pink pill.
And it gives you a greater sex drive, or does it lube you up down there, or what?
So it actually, well, look, sex drive gets the party started, and a lot of other things flow from that. Like when you look at sex in women, you study basically like desire, arousal, orgasm, and pain. And they're very interconnected.
Right.
But the most common issue women have is low desire.
Right.
And it's called HSDD. So just like we've known ED for men for 20 plus years, women have a condition called HSDD. We've known about that medically since the 70s. We just didn't have anything to address it until we broke through with the product. So that's what it does. It basically reignites for women with the condition. So I should say it, requires a doctor's prescription, and, you need to understand risks, benefits for you, but pretty cool.
So, okay, so you had this product out there, and someone wrote you a check for $1 billion.
$1 billion. Actually, $1 billion in cash.
How did that happen? Like, remember that scene? Did you ever see the movie with Diane Keaton, Baby Boom?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so my favorite scene in that movie ever
has been a while.
is when she goes back to her old job.
Yeah.
And they want to buy her homemade applesauce.
Yes.
And she's like, hold on. She goes to the bathroom and she's like, yes, yes, yes. And it's like, I've had a couple of those like weird moments where I always think of her like, one time I had a big meeting and this agency all said, yes, we want to take you on. Of course, they dumped me 2 years later. But for that moment.
I've got part of that to my story, too. We'll talk about.
Yeah, for that moment, I was like, I'm Diane Keaton with the applesauce.
I know, absolutely.
Like, this is kind of. So tell me a little bit about how that moment came about.
Well, so nobody believed I could do it, right? Especially in this industry. It's all men. Like, you can imagine the suits.
Right.
Here's this woman in pink. She's going to get the female Viagra approved. They're like, sure. And we had a really important meeting at the FDA. And the world was signaled we were going to get it approved.
Wait, I want to just ask. So when you were starting it, you had this idea.
Yeah.
Was it kind of like what we saw with that weirdo with the one drop lady, where she went and got the investors and everything? Did you have to go?
I did get investors for sure.
Did you go to Silicon Valley to get? No. How did you get people to invest in your idea? Being that it's a science-based thing.
So one, I had a track record. So I built a company with men. So I already had a base of investors. But those investors, I didn't know any of them when I started. Like when I decided, why am I doing this for other people? I'm going to build my own business from scratch. I didn't have a rich uncle. So I had to go out and figure out who was going to finance it. And I really just figured out people I wanted to get in the room with, and I would get in the room and I'd say, introduce me to 5 of your friends. Will you introduce me to 10 of your friends? And I grew it that way. So I have this unbelievable like national network, if you will, of all these good guys who actually fund a lot of great ideas in women's health.
What year was this that you were getting this together?
2011.
And where were you living? Like, where did you grow up?
All over the world. So I had a weird childhood. I'm from upstate New York, like Rochester, blue-collar town. And when I was in the 4th grade, my dad came home and he said, hey, do you want to go to Fiji? And I thought, what's Fiji? I had no idea, right? And I spun the globe. I saw it was the other side of the world. I said, yeah, I want to go to Fiji. He goes, great, because we're moving there in a couple of weeks.
And why were you moving there?
My dad is a State Department guy, and he's he's the quintessential adventurer. So every year from the 4th grade through my senior year of high school, he moved me. So
I lived. Only child?
No, I had 2 big brothers. But actually at that time, I mean, look, when I went to Fiji, this isn't like the Fiji we all think of with Fiji water and everything else. I went and my curriculum was how to build an outhouse, like in my little school. So my brothers were older and they stayed back in the U.S. and finished school here.
So do you feel like you didn't really have a great education? I mean, if you were, I mean, that's a good education on how to build a house. But I'm saying, do you feel like math and English wise and writing and all of that was a little bit lost?
Listen, I think I had the best education, which was get outside of your comfort zone. This is a big old world and you got to figure it out and be resourceful. And I think honestly, like I look back at that, it's so much of what prepared me to be an entrepreneur.
So were they speaking English at your school?
They did. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Fijian is a language, but they speak English in schools. And it was great. Like, I mean, take this average American kid in like the suburban life and drop them, on the island and
Right.
see how. And I think in many ways I'm so grateful for that and all of that disruption in my life because I think it made me be a disruptor.
So then
sort of later in life.
So then what was fifth grade then?
I was in Fiji, Rochester, DC, Italy, DC. I kept
okay.
moving all over. Yeah. So I kind of bounced back and
And
forth.
did your parents stay together?
They did. They're still
Okay.
together.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And they live close to me now. I'm in Raleigh now, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. And
Which I
so-
chose to build companies.
Oh, okay. And where did you go to college then?
DC, Marymount. Good
Oh, okay.
Catholic girl.
Yeah.
I don't know if they even claim me. They actually just put out a thing of graduates, and I thought it was so funny. It was 100 graduates. Guess which number I was?
99.
69,
Oh.
which I thought, which student decided to do this because it's great.
Yeah,
and I
right.
like that there's
Yeah.
a little bit of that humor there. Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So you end up.
Wait, I have to tell you
Sorry,
this moment.
Tell me the moment
Okay.
first.
So these companies kind of like they get a signal, oh my God, she's going to do it. And all of a sudden, all the like big boys are calling.
Okay.
They want to come meet with me. And one company came down and it was like, it reminds me so much of the scene, right? So
Yeah.
they come down and they're bringing, 7 people. And I like walk around the office and I'm like, you, come on, we're going across the street. I'm like bringing everyone in the company. We were tiny when we
Right.
got this done. So I'm like, everybody's suiting up to pretend they're basically my executive team.
Yeah.
And we get in the room and they give this big speech about how, this product would be best in their hands. And they make an offer. And it's really dramatic. Like it's this scene. He's giving this whole speech. And then he goes, we're going to leave the room and we'll let you just think about it and we'll be right back. So they walk out of the room, this whole team of suits. And I look around at the team and I say, okay, when they come back in, 5 minutes, pick up your things, walk out of the room. And they're all like, what? Like, just trust me. So they come back in. I say, thank you so much. We're going to do it on our own. Thank you. The whole team gets up and walks out of the room.
But had they given you $1 at that?
Oh, yeah.
a
They
dollar
gave me
amount?
$200 million at the time. And
Okay,
I was
they
like,
wrote-
this
they
is
wrote-
a joke.
They wrote 200 million.
It was like
down?
this, 200 million.
Was it written in a
It's
little
a big
piece
deal.
of paper?
Yeah. Like, here you go.
But was it really like, was
Yeah.
it 2M or was it 200?
No, 200. Yeah,
But
yeah.
was
Oh,
it
no,
written-
it's 200M. Yeah.
200M. Did you save the piece of paper?
I don't think
No,
I
because
have
you had
it.
to push it back.
But the crazy thing is, so I had
Yeah.
printed out, I brought this unbelievable woman, Josephine Tarenti, who's my attorney. She came with me and we had printed like every piece of press. Because once this started being a conversation, people were like, why isn't there something for women? Like we had unbelievable press. So we printed out, it was binders full, and we had stacked them on the ground. And when she was getting up to walk out, she looks at me and she's like, the binder. And I'm like, leave them. Leave them, come on. So she leaves. She's like, why do we leave the binders? I'm like, because it'll make them call me back.
Right.
And sure enough, like she and I went and got an ice cream.
Okay.
We came back into the office. And
What
my
was the flavor of ice cream?
I don't know. Probably vanilla.
Okay.
So we walk into the office. My assistant's sitting there and she's like, they called. They would like to bring the binder over. So I pick up the phone. Like I call the CEO. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. That was really for you. You keep it. And it started the conversation. So he called me back again. He waited. He was pissed. So he called me a few weeks later and he said, fine, 900 million.
On the phone, he said.
On the phone, 900 million.
Now, I gotta just ask you, like at this time in your life,
Yeah.
what does your home look like? Are you living in? What are you living in at this
So-
time in 2011?
Yeah.
What are you driving? What are you living in?
I drove a VW Bug. My house was nice, but like I was never there.
But market value.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. A million?
Okay.
Already
Okay.
from that company, but not a fancy house. Like,
Right.
I'm very plain in that regard.
Right.
So not a lot. I lived at the office. I mean, that was my house. Like I would, lie down on the floor in my office.
So when you start to realize that you're looking at anywhere between 200 million
Yeah.
to 900 million to
Yeah.
500, whatever,
Yeah.
what is your mind telling you? Like, if I was to get this, this is what I would do like I want to make sure that I have a jet, or I want
Yeah.
to buy my parents this, or what was in your mind of like, okay, I'm not going to go crazy, but
Yeah.
a couple of things I'm going to immediately change in my life, and this is going to be it.
This is such a weird answer. I don't think I thought about that. If I'm being really honest,
I want you
actually
to be honest, 'cause
cared about.
this is my question to like people
Yeah.
that instantly become rich.
Yeah.
Because it's the same question I would have for someone that was raised with money in a trust fund. It's
For
I
sure.
don't know what that's like. I
Yeah,
only
for sure.
know like my experience, which was
Yeah.
I never wanted for food or
Yeah, yeah.
education, but we owned one home.
Yeah.
We didn't go on a lot of vacations. I would walk into a mall or something and be like, one day I'll be able to get whatever I want,
Yeah.
but today's not the day. So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
even at my level, when I get to a place where
Yeah.
I could, it's actually really hard.
It's a weird
to
adjustment.
change your mind.
It is.
You know, and so I do ask people like,
Yeah.
where do you go? Well, I got to start spending it a little bit because I'm going to be on this earth for who knows how long. Like, I don't want to end up like MC Hammer, but I want to like I should
God.
enjoy my life a little bit.
For sure.
And it's a weird,
it's weird
money conversation
it's
to have
so
in your brain.
Weird. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you. It's been a really weird adjustment for me.
Yeah.
Because like the day after I get the check, I just got up and went to work.
Okay, so wait, he calls back
So
and he goes
He
900.
calls 900 million, and the whole office knew like he had called. So like everyone's gathered around my door, you know, listening in, my whole
Yes.
team. And I said, you know what? That doesn't have a B on the end of it. And he hung up on me. And the next day he gave me $1 billion for the company. Now, mind you, I sound such a badass in that it was worth that and then some. But like I was just holding my ground. Like to your point of what was I thinking of in terms of the outcome for myself? All I was thinking of is the hell I'm going to give up what this is truly worth. Like, and I think that's a lot of just even the personal piece in that, right? Of like, I wasn't going to settle for less than what I was worth, what that was worth. And now I am adjusting to the money. And I did buy my dad a car, which was awesome.
And when did you feel that, like, that it is like what put you in your head that is $1 billion because you had the knowledge of the other kind of
For sure, the
things?
market.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, if you look at the male drugs, it's a $6.5 billion category. I mean, it's really like this was buying it at its infancy, so fair enough,
Right.
$1 billion, but there was a ton of upside potential.
Yeah.
And that upside potential is what basically got it back. So I got it back from them and I kept the $1 billion.
Yeah.
I got it back for free.
Well, you know, every week I look at where I'm in for comedy podcasts.
Yeah.
And I'm consistently number 5. And I'm under Conan and I'm just under Smartless.
Man.
And I know like I don't know that Conan's been bought, but I think Smartless has been bought. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and my husband is like, when's our exit? When's someone coming to us?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'm okay because
Yeah.
who am I going to fight with? Like either it's there or it's not. In the
Yeah.
meantime, I am doing just fine and love it.
Yeah.
But it is so last night I was thinking about you that you're coming in.
Yeah.
And I'd had a couple Rumbauer Chardonnays. I'm like, I see I'm number 5 again. And it's like, you know, Smartless, which is 3 guys, Justin Bateman,
Yep.
and they're, you know, 3 movie stars, you know, that started a podcast.
Yeah.
Then there's Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, who are amazing. And it was Tom Segura that gave me the idea, that made me want to do a podcast because I was
Okay.
like, oh, that guy's not on TV and he's selling out rooms. Like I saw that and so I was like, oh, this was 7 years ago. So they have a show together. So they were there. Then it was like, I can't remember, but then it was Conan, and then it was me, and then it was like Bill Burr or whatever. And I was like, you know, I'm the only solo
you.
female host.
Yeah,
because like
it's
there's the
awesome.
Office girls and there's a couple other people that do well, but they have each other to lean on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm the only one. And I go, you know, I never tweet this. I put it on stories, but I'm like, I'm going to tweet this and tag these people. And I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
And I put in there, I have also had 2 glasses of Chardonnay, full disclosure, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, sometimes I just don't think people think about it.
Yeah.
And like, so when you're in that position, it's like, you have to make people, like, they're just not aware.
Yeah.
They are, yeah, you're right. Like, why isn't there this thing?
That's true.
And why not be the people that
provoke or at least push the envelope so that everybody's considering it, right?
Yes.
I think that's right. I walk into rooms even of great women, right, that we would mutual friends who are, so well educated and everything else, and they're like, why the hell have I never even considered this conversation?
Right.
Like, it's never occurred to me before.
Right.
And I think, that's just emblematic of so much conditioning, especially when it comes to sex, right? And then that whole narrative. But so much conditioning. Women with money, power, sex, like, we're so conditioned to almost have the blinders on.
So when he goes, fine, $1 billion. You hang up the phone.
It was great.
Now, are you like, until I have that check in my hand, until it's deposited, I'm not going to get excited.
For sure.
Yeah.
Never, right? It ain't over until it's over, for sure.
So how long before it's actually deposited in a bank account? And how do you decide if you go to Bank of America, Chase?
They court you. They come calling. Like, you get the pick of the litter because they're all trying to fly down and meet with you, for sure, once they realize that. But yeah, that's an interesting conversation too. The guy that I use for my money is so low key.
Yeah.
Like, for all of the glitz and everything else. And he came in, this was not last year, but maybe the year before. And he said, look, you're driving the same car. You live in the same house. And he looks
after
at
you've
me.
had the billion.
Yes, and he looks at me, and this was really, really rude in the best way. He's like, I'm pretty sure you were wearing that the last time I saw you. He's like, I'm going to need you to step it up. But he's the perfect, fit for me because he can say things like that. And he actually, really, my relationship with money, he's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you going to do with it? What do you want from this? And I think that's the challenge, is figuring that out, because my head, I think you get wired really young around money.
Yeah.
And my head is, I'm capable. I need to go out and earn money. I'm pretty good at it. So I feel like I still need to show up and make money. And he's like, but you can spend it now too. Like, it's going to be there.
So okay, so what happens with your family and your girlfriends and stuff that now, I mean, I assume you're picking up every lunch at this point forward. You're not like, hey girls, you know what? Let's split it. And then some girl's like, I just had the shrimp cocktail, and you're like, no.
I hope not. No, generosity. I hope, right? Even before I had this, if you wish for things that people would say about you if you were gone, one of mine would always be generosity. Yeah. I wish for that. That's something that you always show up with.
Right.
But no, somebody asked me that question the other day, what's one thing you're never asked? And I said, can I pay for this? No one ever asks me that anymore. No, I'll tell you what I didn't expect.
I do. I feel like with my friends that are really wealthy, because I know that whatever, $200 doesn't mean anything to them. I think it's such an important thing to do. Yeah. Because, it's just it's a nice thing. And and when I've done it, I've had people say, no one's ever done that.
That's right.
And that's why you have to go to the maitre d' before or whatever.
Yeah.
Because
that's nice.
It just, and believe me, it'll take you a much further with that great, generous friend by doing that on occasion than if you never do it at all. And and if you're not wealthy, pick a meal that's not super expensive.
For sure.
Pick the $50 lunch.
You can take me to Texas Roadhouse. I'm good. If I get some of the bread on the rolls, I'm good. For sure. No, I think that's
after this
true,
podcast,
right?
everyone's going to be picking up your coffee. Okay, just don't worry about it.
Funny. It's just a nice gesture, right?
Yeah.
Justin's grandfather had a saying, do you go through the world with your hands like this or your hands like this?
Yeah.
And I think that's true. How do you approach people in a conversation? I'm fine. I'm happy and I'm delighted to be able to do these things. I just bought my dad a car, and it was his 80th birthday, and he was absolutely not. He tried everything he could do to not take it. And for me, that was just, I don't know, as a moment.
Yeah. But did you ever have people did you ever lose people because of the fact that now you're wealthy and either they feel weirded out or they feel that you have not fucking bought them a house or paid for their kids' college?
Listen, I think I have a certain naivete about it that took me a while to figure that out. The agenda is different. Because again, you don't change, right? You wake up the next day, like you have a lot more zeros in your bank account, but you're the same person. And other people do change around you. My weirdest discovery is I cannot buy real estate. Like if I make an offer and they Google me, it is always like I try to buy them under LLCs because it's always they inflate the price. They're like, oh, actually, I didn't want asking anymore. I want like 20% more than asking. And you're like, wait, what? I have a house, honest to God, in Napa. That was one of my dreams. Like I'm going to buy a house in the Napa Valley, and I made an offer, full price. No, she changed her mind. She wanted more than what the full price offer
Well,
was.
also you're dealing with California assholes.
That's fair. It's fair. Yeah. It is California.
Yeah. But oh my God. No,
I
definitely,
it for years.
Of course that. So did you get the house?
No, but what's great is, I watched it for years and I was like, And so she sold it for so much less than I had offered. Like, a year
still don't
later.
Have the Napa house?
I don't. I was like, well, that's a sign. I'm good. I won't do that one. I'll do something else.
So now you don't want the Napa? You still want the Napa house?
Not really.
So now what? So you live in Raleigh.
I do.
And do you live in a nice house now?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice.
And when you got that big check,
yeah.
Were you single at that time?
I was. I was, single. So I was with my former partner. We had never really disclosed that we were. So my business partner and I were married. And former, yeah, and so we never told everybody. We'd long since been separated because in startups, people hate that kind of notion of like, oh no, there's going to be drama around it. So we disclosed. We didn't disclose it until the sale
that you were separated.
Yeah, but I had been single for a long time, just single and not doing just by myself.
Okay, but being separated from the ex-husband,
for years before.
Okay, but so then did you make sure there was a post agreement so that he didn't get his money? So he wasn't going to get any of this?
No.
And do you think he was bummed about the check?
I think what happened was really fair, and so it's fine. Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Was he bummed? I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe. I think he lives a good life. Like he did well too,
Right.
So he's fine.
It's one thing doing well, and then there's okay. So you get your ability. Do you go to Neiman's? Like, do you do anything?
I did buy a pair of Louboutins that were called.
Was that your first pair?
It was. It was my first pair, and the color was called Shocking Pink. So I felt like that was all like it was meant to be.
There is a viral video I just saw that's going around. That is. Do you know who Bella Hadid is?
Yes.
Okay. She's a model and she's like doing an interview and she's looking at like a childhood album and she goes, my mom would never let me buy any designer clothes until it was so crazy. Finally, at my high school graduation,
oh my God.
My mom got me some Louboutin shoes.
Wow.
And this was my first complete designer luxury outfit at 18. And I look back at these photos and I was so empty. I swear to God, she says this. So empty. I was so not myself. And then going forward with the luxury items I'm meant to have, I felt free.
Really?
And that video went around. And then this week she said, I've cried every day for 3 years because I have so much anxiety. Aww. And so I'm just like, I feel kind of just bad for this girl.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just kind of like, well, what is it? What?
I was thinking that even when you said you'd ask that question of like trust fund babies, I think it's worse, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that if I can have everything, if nothing has a value to me or I didn't earn it and like love it, it's like IKEA furniture. You love it a little bit more because you had to put it together, right? There's something about earning it. Like, I don't know. I can't even imagine. I mean, I don't have that circumstance.
Well,
I didn't live that circumstance.
Also just like a kind of a hard thing because even if you're not super wealthy, and now your kid's in school.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, could he get a job at the yogurt shop?
Right.
But that might take away from, his 12 honors classes.
Yeah.
And we need him to get into college. But at the same time, like, I think the most important thing is a work ethic.
It is.
And then you find these kids that are 30 that have 12 degrees that have
never
no purpose
worked a day
and
in
they
their
don't know
life.
how to work. And it's
That's
like,
right.
if you work at the yogurt place, or even if you're not going to work at a place like that, maybe you're teaching a kid how to play a sport, or you're just like, helping some old man across the street with something. Yeah. Just something where like your kid has to show up at a time and feel like he's done something. Yeah. I think people need to, because it's like when we grew up, it was like everybody got a job at 16.
Of course. I worked at the mall, of course.
Yeah. And now it's like kids don't want to learn how to drive.
Yeah.
They don't want to,
That is weird to me.
But because their freedom and their fun is not like before it was like, oh, I got to get this car so that I can go to the party that my mom won't drive me to. So I can go to the football game that my mom is like, I'm not getting out of bed for that.
Sure.
But, go get an Uber.
Yeah.
Get an Uber and sit in the back of the car and be on your phone and take a bunch of photos. Why would you want to put that away to actually have the stress of driving? Yeah. And then we're scared about our kids, like mental health. They're like, well, let's not stress them out. And with my kids, I'm like, no, you all have to learn how to drive.
Yes.
And my older son, he learned how to drive a stick. And I'm like, that's kind of hot.
Good. I love it.
I'm kind of glad that you learned how to do that, because I never learned and I'm never going to.
Yeah.
No, I will not learn. I don't want to learn anything new.
You can do it.
But I'm glad. No, I'm not. Why? No, I'm not learning. But
for that sports
I think it's nice that he learned.
Yeah.
That's like really rare now. That,
Yeah,
like you
for
bothered,
sure.
Like guys should know how to like do some shit around the house.
Of course. Listen, I will not hire people. I mean, this is my number one question in an interview if I'm hiring somebody onto my team is, what is the first way you made money? And if they can't give me something until they were like graduated out in like a fancy job, the hell with it. Like if you didn't make flyers and put it in your like neighbors and say odd jobs, like call on me, or do some kind of hustle.
Yeah.
The motor didn't show up early enough. And it's going to be really hard. I think, look, the world is tough. Like it's not easy when you get into the real world and the workforce and everything else. And if nothing has prepared you for that,
right,
you're really at a disadvantage, I think.
But sometimes it's how you're raised, but sometimes it is inherent.
Yeah.
Because like definitely my siblings didn't have like the drive that I had,
Yeah.
At like 12, I was that kid that put out the flyers. And some of the work I had to do with my parents, they made me like deliver pumpkins for their real estate. But I also like was a babysitter.
Yeah.
And I just remember like every Saturday night I babysat for this woman. And it was like a different guy every night. And then the guy would take me home. Nothing ever happened, but it would be really late. And I just remember one time I go to my dad, I go, and I had cheerleading in a project, and I go, oh, I wish I didn't have to work tonight. I was like 12.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you don't.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, I was kind of like, oh, I guess I don't. But I just like took such a pride of like having my own money and like going to the mall and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but I think as a parent, it's hard. It's like, how do you instill that drive? And I think a lot of people are having trouble with that.
I do too. I agree. I think that's a real challenge. Yeah, I do think for some it really does just show up, right? Like that innate, like I want to achieve, I want to do this, I want the freedom that comes with money, whatever that was. For me, that was always just independence. Yeah. Right? If I made money, I'm independent. I'm not reliant on anybody else, and that matters to me. So I was always in that hustle.
Okay, so then you're divorced, you've got $1 billion, you have one pair of Louboutins.
I do.
It's like that scene in like Sex and the City where she just had the one pair of shoes in the movie.
I still only have one. I do. I know. I only have one. I don't know. They're really narrow. I don't love them.
Oh, okay. Well, they're not for your feet.
Yeah.
Couldn't you get your own shoes made? Why don't you have a cobbler just come to your house and create your own shoes?
Who does write this guide? Like, can somebody write me the guide of like, these are all the things you could do? Because I am consistently mocked by my friends for all of these things. I'm a great disappointment to them in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. So you did. So you're able to keep some friends even though you're rich. Okay. And do you ever take them on like a fun girls weekend?
We do. Yeah.
Do you private jet it sometimes?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the fun. That's the best. That is the best.
Are you looking for a new friend?
Are you auditioning? Who is it for? Yes. Why not?
Me.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we're going to. I think we have chemistry.
Let's do it.
I like anything that involves. I like anything. I mean, but I think the easiest is just beach stuff,
Yeah.
Cabo stuff.
Fabulous.
Close,
I'm in.
Cabo,
Okay,
everything.
let's do it.
And just, I'll entertain the group.
That's good.
I'll do housewife impressions.
I love it. I know. I was going to say, are you going to do any
I've been putting this out in the universe. By the way, did you ever do The Secret of any kind?
No. Mm-mm.
But you looking now when
Back.
when I say The Secret,
Yeah,
I don't
like
mean that you went to Michael's,
putting it out, right?
and made a board,
A vision
okay?
board.
I don't. Think,
I didn't ever have.
I
any
don't
of
think
this.
you have
Yeah.
to do that. Mm-hmm. But looking back,
Yeah.
when I first heard about The Secret, which was like, I don't know, when did that come out? Like 15 years ago? 12,
Probably.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, my friend gave me the DVD, and I didn't even finish watching it.
Yeah.
But I was watching it, and some of it I was like, it was kind of bullshit. They're showing this person like in a third world country, like doing laundry, and I'm like, okay, well, the Secret doesn't apply to that person the way it applies to an American. Okay, so just shut up about that. Like, there's a point
Yeah.
of opportunity, and
Yeah.
and then there's a point of, whatever. So given that you have an opportunity as an American, okay, so like, so you have these dreams. I looked back and I was like, oh my God, I did envision these things. I did envision them. I didn't necessarily say, one day I'm going to,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that because that was seen as like conceited.
Right.
But I did have it in my head, and I looked back
For
and I
women.
also noticed like some things that didn't work out for me, I actually put in my brain as well.
Oh, that's interesting. Like,
Okay, so I was in this theater group called the Groundlings,
okay.
and the first day I walked in, they had a wall of the main company, which then no one can kick you out of that unless you leave. And then a Sunday company, which is the B company. You perform on Sundays, every Sunday for like a year
Yeah.
and a half. And I looked at both of those and I said, well, I know I'll make that Sunday show, but I probably will never make that.
Interesting.
And I didn't make.
Interesting.
I only made the Sunday, and it all worked out because
Yeah.
had I made the main, I think I would have been a little bit trapped in that like small incestual world because
Yeah.
it was so like
Yeah.
all consuming. But I was like, oh, I said that, like
you
not
sort of-
reaching totally, or even like in my career, I was like, I'll work in TV, but I probably will never be like a movie star. Like I'd say those
Interesting.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
I
true.
think for sure. Like,
I'm
I
not a
think
movie
you
star.
do, though,
Yeah.
program. I do think it's a story you tell yourself,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Of what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, I was going to get to $1 billion.
So
right?
when
I
did,
was going to say-
but when did,
but,
so did
yeah.
you have, when you look back, did
Yeah.
you, what
I
did you
think-
see yourself as a child? What did you see
Yeah.
your future as?
Well, my brother, I have two big brothers. They would tell you that there wasn't like an imaginary game that I ever played in which I was not the CEO. So I was definitely like in charge.
That's really
and
cute.
calling the shots.
Yeah.
And I think I always thought I need to make an impact. Like I think my dad is, such an adventurer and everything else. He has a way of like pushing that out of you, like sort of greatness. Like he'll settle for nothing less. Like what are you going to do that's big? And you're completely responsible, I think, for that outcome. So there was definitely that in me. Like he celebrated the clever like moves and everything else. That's really what he celebrated. So that was definitely helpful for me. I think I did imagine that, right? Imagine like doing just something big.
Yeah. And so, okay, so now so this is 2011.
Yeah.
You have your money. You have your one pair of shoes.
Single girl
Single girl.
who invented female Viagra and doesn't have a date.
Yeah. So so how does that work then? Are you going like when do you reveal to a suitor? Because that must be kind of hard.
Google it. I mean, that already when we got
that's right.
approved, it was the biggest news story in the world that day. So it was everywhere. And so you would easily be able to find it. So that was weird. Like I have told this story, but like honest to God, if I got into a conversation with somebody, they knew what I did, a guy, they would say, female Viagra. I'm female Viagra. And I would just look at them and say, if I had a nickel for every guy who told me that, I wouldn't have had to sell a company for $1 billion. And it would just like the whole conversation just went, and you're out. Bye-bye, next. And so it took me a while, though, because, I mean, again, like, you have a certain naivete, though, of,
Yes.
like, what are people's agendas?
So were there times where like you feel like you liked a guy and he was
Terrible.
too insecure to be with someone like you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, like bad experiences, I think, and people in
like
it
tell
really
me
for
tell
the
me
wrong
one that was like a
reason.
heartbreaking one. Where you really did like someone and he just got too weird and in his head about who you are? Because I would think that would be a common kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think I had one. So right after I was dating somebody who really was in it for whatever he could get out of me, right? Be it money, be it whatever, invites, whatever that was.
When did you realize that?
It took me probably like 6 months to figure it out. And then after that, I think my brothers were so keenly aware of it. They were like, So I think I didn't really have a heartbreak because then all of a sudden I was really not open. Like, I think that scarred me a little bit.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone's going to be like that.
Yeah.
Not that I was heartbroken over that per se, but like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This has got a whole new dimension to it. So I was very lucky to now, and I'm now engaged.
Yeah, so the boyfriend's very cute. The fiance's very cute. Nice, tall, cutie. How did you meet?
So we were on a panel together because he's an incredible entrepreneur. And I'd heard his name like around town because everybody loved him because he was so helpful to everybody.
And lives in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, like the things you think, right, of I'm going to meet somebody in LA, New York, on a plane, whatever. And right here in my backyard, there's this incredible man. So we're on a panel together.
Yeah.
And I had heard his name and I sat down and I was like, wait a minute, this is him? No, he told me what he looked like. I had obviously not done my homework. And
you didn't bother to Google.
I hadn't thought of it. And again, it's just like shut down, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't that even in that headspace.
Yeah.
I think. And he started following up with me. And this is how I was wired. I thought it was all business. Like I thought, oh, well, he just, wants to meet and talk business. And it like went on for long enough that his sister thinks it's hilarious.
Like how many times did you talk?
Oh, he would write me, like he would send me a message and I would wait forever and then I'd send him back like a one word like, haha. Or he'd be like, what the fuck? This woman is so rude. Like I thought we were meeting for a business thing and I wrote him like you would for a business. Hey, listen, I have to move. I flew to LA last night.
Yeah.
Like little did I know these were really sort of dates.
Yeah.
And one Friday night, I'm walking out of the office to go meet with him and I work with mostly women. They're like, where are you going? I said, I'm going to meet with Justin Miller. And they're like, for a date? And I'm like, it's not a date. And they're like, it's Friday night. It's drinks. Call us from the bathroom. It's a date. And I got there and I went to the bathroom like, holy shit, it's a date. And really, I didn't even, like, I didn't see it coming. And that was what was so
Did you kiss that night
about
then?
him. No, I left. She's so disappointed in me. If you guys,
Like
I don't know if there's a close up here.
Like I would be so annoyed with you.
This is the worst thing. So even worse, I drove down there. He Ubered down there. We were out like.
Of course, I've got to have my own car.
Right?
Thank you.
I know.
Because I could be even more of a buzzkill. Now I can't drink. And I can't have you take me home. You can't even make out in his car.
The worst thing is that we got ready to go and I was like, and it was snowing that night, which is unusual in Raleigh. And I like said, okay, bye. And I didn't even offer to drive. I'm such a jerk. Like I didn't even offer to drive him. And I drove away and he teases that like it kicked up all this snow and like somebody walked along and put a like carrot in his nose because I'd covered him as I peeled out to drive away. I was clueless. Like,
okay, so but now you're not clueless. You said the girl said in the bathroom
like
that
I thought it was a date, but then I was like, well, maybe, like I could never figure out people's agendas.
Okay.
Like maybe he really, like this guy doesn't like me. Like I'm not his type, and I
now,
did all of that.
Why would you think that you weren't his type? Because he's like got tattooed arms and he's kind of sexy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like a debutante.
What's
no,
that
but you're
mean?
like you're a debutante. You're like me. You've got the curled hair. You've got the lash. Like you look. Were you a Deb? Well, you probably weren't because you moved around so much.
But my mom is from the deep South, so I have that in me for sure, like the little bit of Southern girl.
Yeah, like a sorority girl.
I wasn't a sorority girl, but yes, I agree.
But look-wise.
I like a good, like, nails painted and lashes on.
So you never dated, like, a little bit of an edge
More
guy.
the banker. Yes, right?
Yeah.
That was
so you're immediately like, I'm not, Kathmandu or whatever. So, like, he's not going to like me.
I'm not like a rock star. That's what I figured he'd like.
Weren't
the girls
you
in
kind
the
of,
band.
being that it wasn't your type, were you turned on by the sleeves?
So insanely hot. Like, so insanely hot for sure.
Yeah.
And totally intrigued. But, like, again, I think it takes you a while to consider
Okay, so
it.
after that date,
he
wipes the snow off of him. And do you do a follow-up text? Like, did you get home okay?
I didn't.
Okay. So then.
But I was rusty. I hadn't dated for years.
Were you boning at all during that time?
Well, I dated some people in the interim, like very cash. Yeah.
All right. So then.
That was yes, but
so what year is this?
2015.
Okay, so
2016.
So then when does the next date happen?
2016, 2017. I'm so bad. Okay. It took a little while because I was on the road all the time, and I was like, oh, maybe I should. Can I?
Are you like following each other on Instagram or anything?
Yeah.
Okay,
we texted a little bit.
Yeah,
and then the next time he asked me out, I like wrote this whole thing like this can't be a date. Like we really just.
Why would you say that?
I think, again, it was defensiveness, right? Like, it was like, I like this guy, but oh, God, I don't, like, it was all that weird a bit of, like, trying to figure out what the agenda was with people. And then that was a date, and it was awesome. And then the rest is history. That was a date.
And so when did you get engaged?
A year after we started dating. So we've been engaged for almost 3 now.
And how did he ask you?
Very cash, like we have a place in Florida, and he just came in. He actually put a Ring doorbell. See, guys should be able to do things. So he'd put a Ring doorbell on my door, and I'd want it down there.
Oh, you mean like a ring?
Like a ring
I thought
doorbell.
You meant you put a ring. Like...
Well, he actually. So I'd wanted a Ring doorbell like on this door for some reason, and he's
everyone
like,
should have the ring. Yeah.
I'll do it. Okay. So he did it, and he like walked in, and then he like plopped something down. And he said, I told you I'd give you a ring. And he had the box, and it was really sweet.
And so when is the wedding?
We haven't started. We're just thinking like we need to start planning.
So how long have you been engaged for?
3 years. I'm slow. I don't know. We can't decide where. We have friends everywhere. So we're like, where's the one place that everyone will go?
I mean, I think people will come.
They'll come. Are you worried?
First of all,
we should
I'm
go
available
on this girls' weekend, and you can like tell me how to do all of these things.
I definitely think you should get married.
Yeah,
and I definitely think you should plan whatever you want.
Yeah,
and this is where it is, and whoever wants to come can come, and then like whatever. Yeah. Who cares?
True. I am glad, though, that we hadn't started planning. Like, I would not have been happy during the I would have been pissed. Like, all these brides who've been so gracious about it, I would have been
had to, like, cancel and move and cancel and move. And then when they do have it, everyone's like, why are you having a wedding in a worldwide pandemic?
It's the worst.
Like,
I would have hated that. So we're just lucky. That was dumb luck.
Great.
That we didn't get our shit together. We built a house together, and we said, let's just do that.
Oh, so you live together.
We do.
You have the house together.
Yeah.
And, okay, so then what happened with when and how you got the company back after you sold it? Tell that.
So incredibly, right, they paid me $1 billion and then they never launch it. It was awful. Like it actually was, this was very, like, look, this was so much my baby.
Right.
There's a lot of me in it for like getting it right for women. Women should deserve to have a choice of their own. And then for them to not even let the women who needed it have access to it sent me into a tailspin. I was depressed, like, for a little while after it because I felt like I'd let everybody down, right? I'd let my team down. Even though we'd all done really well, we'd made a lot of money. That really wasn't what this was about for any of us at the outset.
Let me ask with that team.
Yeah.
Because you actually posted about the Spanx girl recently.
Yeah, Sarah.
And she sold her Spanx for $1 billion or how much?
They haven't released the value deal, but her valuation was 1.2.
Okay, and she
sold a majority stake.
Okay, and then she had this moment where they said to everybody, everybody's going to get 2 tickets to any place they want in the world and $10,000.
Yeah,
and so there were comments under there, and I really didn't know the answer. And they're like, "Well, that's nice, but do these people not have a job now? Like when they come back from this trip?"
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it works. When you sell a big company, do you not have control over, like, your employees anymore?
It's a negotiation. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if they own it, they have every right to get rid of them. But typically, like, at least both times I sold my company, that was a big piece of it. You will keep the people. And so they kept the people in both scenarios.
And do you think the Spanx girl, do you think it was hard for her to remind herself as everybody copied her?
Yeah.
It's okay. There's enough for everybody. They're all stealing my idea from, Yummy Tummy to Flexies to Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
And the Skims.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm glad that she didn't get bummed out.
Me too.
And she just kept her head up and was like, whatever, I'll still make $1 billion because, I mean,
she's the OG.
I've had it happen with me with a lot of things. But then I'm just like, I have to just be like, Heather, you're the female Joe Rogan. Just go.
Go.
Like, but it's like, sometimes you're like, really?
It's hard to not be,
really?
right? Of
You
course.
know, like, but then,
like,
so
it's one thing to say imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and it's another thing to actually embrace that, right? It's hard.
It's true. And I remember, that's one of the things my dad used to always say too. And it's true, you know, and that's what I say when I do celebrity impressions.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only doing it because I find you intriguing.
Of course.
You know, and I try to do it as flattering as I can for that reason. Yeah. But like, I just think, is everything okay? Yeah, you're good. Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. I just think that that you know, at moments, there must have been some moments, maybe the first time or the second time she was annoyed. By the time Kim came along, she was like, of course. You know what? Right. Yeah. You know what? I will take that money. I'm fucking out. Like, I don't need to compete with fucking this thing. And I said the F word a lot in this
she is
classy
so,
meeting.
I have to say, though, I'm such a fan of Sarah's and have you know, met her personally. And Sarah's just got that kind of, I mean, she's just resilient, right? And she's got this like energy and a force about her and that I think when she did it, she was like, I mean, I fucking came up with this from like pantyhose, and then Oprah did it, and here I am.
And I remember the
all
Oprah,
of it.
and I remember the story of how like she wanted to wear white slacks, and
exactly,
and how it really just changed everything, you know. And then Kim did a twist on it too, and. You know, as far as like, oh, you know, here you get a one-legged one or whatever. Like there were some different kind of things.
But for Sarah, everyone's going to always call them Spanx, whatever brand they are.
True that. Totally.
Right?
Yeah. No matter what, put on your Spanx.
Forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I mean, and I really think, I think that's amazing. Like that happened. So, okay, that was my question. Like, what happens with your employees? Yeah. What happened? It
was amazing.
That day?
Oh my God, I flew all of them. We it was surreal, right? Like it was the like scene with all the champagne going everywhere because they all made tons of money. I went up. There was a woman. She came to work for me right out of college. Her mom was my dental hygienist. No kidding. And she would talk about her unbelievable daughter as I would get my teeth cleaned. And she told me her daughter was graduating. I said, great, have her come to my office on Monday because I'm going to hire her. And she was like, she wants to go into fashion. I'm like, well, she's going to go into pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Same, right? Just have her come. And I can remember she flew up with me. I sold the company for $1 billion. I got the product approved and literally went to do press for that. And one day later, then did a press round to say, and by the way, I sold it for $1 billion. Because the deal didn't close until literally the approval had come in. And she was with me. And I can remember we were at like a PR place. There was a huge, the phones were all going. And she had no makeup on. She'd been up all morning. And I said, I need to tell you how much money you just made. And she said, you can't. Like she put her hands like over her head. She's like, I can't right now. And I said, no, I'm going to tell you. And I like wrote it down for her and she just started to cry. I still think about that moment. Like that was one of the best moments.
And she got that money because you gave them a portion of stock, or how did it work?
Sorry, look at me crying. They all owned a piece of the company. Always. Everyone who's ever worked for me, including today. If I did this to be an owner, right, to actually create my own destiny, well then I certainly want that to be the case for the people who work with me too. Like we own a company together. They make decisions differently if they've got skin in the game. And so all of them made, tons of money, and watching what they did with it is awesome.
So when it was sold then, did you have any more work for them, or like what happened to their day?
They stayed with the company. So the original design was they were going to buy it. I was going to run it, all of my people, and then they were like the bank, right? The big company. I got all their resources, and like I would make this thing happen. And then the big company like hit a huge road bump. They didn't disclose something that they were supposed to disclose, and they became like Enron-esque.
Okay.
Oh, and they were the darling, like when they bought us. And so their stock started plummeting, everything else, and their house was on fire. And this was the last thing in. So they're like, well, shit, we can't do anything with this. And here's this loudmouth woman in pink going, what's happening? What's happening with this? Like, tell me what's going on. What am I reading in these papers?
Right.
And so that the CEO called and he invited me to leave, the one that had bought it for $1 billion. And so I said, okay, but you'll keep the team. Yes. And then 3 months later, they canned the whole team. That's when I got depressed. Like when I saw that they just swooped it all. Not only could women not get it, but all of that team that worked that hard were just gone. And I felt really bad about it. And so that's when I went. So they fired that CEO because of all the mess. They got a new CEO in. He was on the job for 2 weeks. And I asked him if he would meet me for breakfast in New York, and he agreed. And we sat down over breakfast, Crosby Street Hotel. And I said, give it back. And he was like, we just paid $1 billion for it. No? And I was like, give it back. You're not going to do anything with it. And it started the conversation. They wouldn't pay attention, so I sued them. And in exchange for dropping the lawsuit, they gave it back for $1 billion. I kept the $1 billion, so they gave it back for free. Crazy, right?
Okay,
It's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
What a story. Like it's just been a fight. Like it's a fight. It's still a fight today. Like I run it. I've got the band back together. The team came back. It's awesome. Like how fun. They had gone on, did different jobs. It's amazing to me actually that, this took a few years.
Yeah.
And in that interim, like they moved on with their lives. They had to go get a new job and everything else. And I picked up the phone and called them, and they were like, I'm coming.
And so, so a couple questions. Has a reality show ever approached you?
Yes.
For wanting to do a reality show?
Yeah.
Like your own or
The
what?
Pinkubator.
Okay.
About the Pinkubator. Because, I took the $1 billion and I invested in other female disruptors. So when I got Sprout back, Sprout and Addie are under sort of the umbrella, but I picked up all these other unbelievable like innovations in women's health, and the team all works on all of those things. So,
Okay.
yeah, the Pinkubator is fascinating. I mean, people are like, there's a what? Where? First of all, wait, there's a female Viagra from Raleigh, North Carolina. I didn't see that coming in, similar to Pinkubator.
And so they wanted to do a show. Did anything ever happen with all these shows?
No, I haven't done anything.
And
You'll have to advise me during the girls' trip. I mean, that's weird
Yes.
for me. It's not really what I do. I mean,
has
I get
Housewives
it.
ever approached you?
I know all of them. Yeah, but I don't.
But
I
the
don't live in one of these markets.
The
so.
producers have never approached you. Not even for Dallas. They never even said, "Can you move over to Dallas?"
Would I fit there? Do you think that's which one would I fit on?
Well, Dallas
Yes.
has been dumped, so
Oh,
no.
it's gone.
No,
I know some
but
of them
like,
too.
but like this girl Deandra could be like your sister.
Deandra, yeah, I've met Deandra.
But no, I think it would be. Why don't you? Why aren't you living here? You don't want to live in LA?
No.
What
Not
about
because
just-
I don't. I
what
actually
about-
love LA. I find LA really friendly. I have great girlfriends in LA. Actually, I have
What
more
about
friends
just
here.
an extra house in Malibu?
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. Maybe like I'll replace the Napa Dream with the Malibu Dream.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be fun.
and or an OC.
Yeah, I
thing.
know.
I don't think you should. I don't know why you would do it.
Why would I pay the taxes?
No, why you shouldn't be on a reality show?
Oh no,
no,
right?
no. Why would you have cameras follow you around
Yeah.
and get in your business and
Yeah.
screw up like your love life and your
Yeah,
fiance?
no thanks.
No, but I just thought how have they not
Yeah.
like tried to get your life?
Yeah.
What
I've done
about
some of
being on
this.
one of those one episode one-offs
That'd be
where
fun.
you put on a bad wig and you
That'd
act
be
like
fun. Like an undercover boss or something.
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
yeah, yeah.
I want I'm corny that way. Like I want the feel good.
Wait, what about Shark Tank? Why don't they ask you to be on
yeah.
Shark Tank as one of the people?
Yeah, maybe we've had those conversations.
Oh,
that
they
might
have.
be coming. Yeah.
Oh, I
So
love
that'd
Shark
be good.
Tank.
I do too.
Yeah,
Why?
we
It's like
watch it
so
all the
fun.
time. Like yeah.
Your
And I-
boys watch it.
Yeah, I watch it with my boys all the
Don't
time.
you
and
think
we would
that's
guess
such good education
Yes.
for them? I do too.
And then I would guess like why what I like. We'd pause it and I
Yeah.
guess who's going to get
Yeah,
it. And,
yeah.
And then one guy's always like in perpetuity. I'm like, shut up! No one wants your perpetuity. Like, but like.
That's great. That's just Kevin and
Yeah.
his royalties in perpetuity.
And then what's Barbara?
Barbara,
she's
she's
always like, well,
wacky. I like
but-
Barbara.
Yeah, I always think, but there's been some that I've been off on, like which I
Yeah,
did not like.
really?
One was
Tell me.
okay. One was the Airbnb for pools, and we saw that this guy thought this idea. Look, people have pools. And they're private pools,
Yeah.
and you're not using them.
They don't use
Why
them,
couldn't
yeah.
someone just come to your house and use your pool for whatever, a
Instead of, like,
3-hour
going to the
minimum
hotel.
for like
Yeah.
a couple $100, whatever? And my husband and I were like, absolutely not. That is like such a liability. People dying, home insurance. How would you even do that?
Yeah.
Anyway, it took off this year.
It did?
Yes.
Who invested?
I don't know. None of them invested.
Oh.
So, but which is always so great about that show because sometimes you don't even want them to invest. But you got this amazing commercial, right?
Oh, for sure.
But like, no, people send it to me because I talk about my pool and they're like, look how much people are making. I think because of COVID too.
Yeah.
You couldn't go to hotels. You couldn't go to public pools. So it became a thing, but somehow there must be some way you can do the insurance. But I still think running around a pool, falling.
I never let people come to my pool.
No, but I mean, just like an Airbnb, I guess it makes. I guess it makes sense.
I guess
maybe
it's the same,
so
right?
some of them, I have like shit upon their idea, and I was completely wrong. Like,
my fiance might have been on Shark Tank. He was,
really?
yeah. I wonder if you saw this episode. So he has, he created like, I'm going to call it Bisquick for dogs, but bake at home dog treats that are all natural. Do you remember that?
Yes. Did anyone get it?
Yes.
Oh, who bought it?
Allie Webb. She was the guest. She invested in it. She and Mr. Wonderful fought for it.
Oh, well, anything in the dog market.
Yeah, right?
I mean, that's all anyone wants to do is treat their dog healthy. Yeah. And the best. These dogs are just spoiled, so great.
I know. Shark Tank's good. I do like that. I actually sat down with my goddaughter, said, can we sit and watch Shark Tank together, and will you tell me, like, which companies you would invest in and which you wouldn't, because she's fascinated by what I do. And I said, we can watch it, but you're going to tell me which ones you would invest in. She got out her calculator, and she's like, that valuation is this. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, she's so far ahead just with this exposure.
No, I think you definitely learn that type of thing of not just what's a good idea, but why someone would say, I think this is good. And then also I like when the people say, for that reason I'm out. Yeah. And also just because it's like, it's not a good, it's not a good fit for me or like whatever. But I've also heard that like, lots of times they'll do that and then they never really do.
They don't close a lot of the deals. Yeah. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. And how with diligence and everything else. Yeah.
And how some people are sought out by Shark Tank. It's not that they really audition. Because they got to make good TV.
They
and
do,
they got
for sure. I mean, the guy that drew a cat for you, do you remember him? I want to draw a cat for you. I mean, I loved him. I was like, that he would stand up there and do this. I mean, hell yeah, I probably would have written him a check too, just for the novelty factor.
I don't remember that.
It was
amazing.
He literally just drew a cat for you. Like, that was early days Shark Tank. Cuban invested. But I'm sure he went to like a ton of, Mavericks games and was a huge hit.
Yeah. Well, yes. I like that they don't have like, how like America's Got Talent, they have a bunch of crappy people that clearly aren't going to make it so they can blank. I like it that it's actually all pretty good stuff. It's just some of them make it. Sometimes some of them don't. Well, tell everybody where they can follow you and get wet with your product.
At Cindy Pink CEO. I hope you'll follow me and Addy.com to see if it's right for you. So many women have this, though. Really, like I have to say, millions of women are affected by this. And it's crazy that we haven't taken it seriously until now.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This was really fun.
It was fun.
And I have no dates in all of 2022.
Perfect. We will do another one and we'll report back on what I learned during the girls' weekend.
Absolutely. Let's go. Where you choose the place, girl.
Perfect.
Thank you.